So, what if I told you there are 10 American towns where homes are flying off the market, sometimes in under a month, but the actual neighborhoods are emptying out like someone pulled a fire alarm and nobody came back? Not slowing down, not stabilizing, just bleeding people. And the wild part? The deeds are still changing hands. Investors are buying, locals are swapping, the transactions are real, but nobody's unpacking boxes or enrolling kids in school. We're counting 10 of these zombie real estate towns, and some of them are going to seriously mess with your head. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Number 1, Gary, Indiana. Gary, Indiana once packed 178,000 people into its borders. Right now, it's got around 70,000, and that number keeps dropping. But you'd never guess it from the sales data because homes are moving. Investors scoop up properties for $15,000, $20,000, sometimes less than you drop on a used pickup truck. And the deeds flip, and the MLS logs another transaction, and on paper it looks like a market that's breathing. But nobody's moving their couch in. Gary shed roughly 8% of its population just between 2010 and 2020, and the trend hasn't flipped. Entire blocks sit with every third house vacant, and the city's been demolishing thousands of structures just to stop the blight from spreading to whatever's still standing next door. So what's actually driving the sales? Speculators and out-of-state investors buy Gary properties the way people buy lottery tickets. Cheap, fast, and mostly on a prayer that something eventually shows up to justify the bet. Some are land banking, just sitting on parcels and waiting for development that keeps not arriving. A 2020 analysis found nearly 1 in 3 Gary housing units sitting completely empty, and the poverty rate hovers around 30%, so the people signing the purchase agreements aren't the ones who'll be sleeping there. Number 2, Flint, Michigan. And if you thought Gary was a wild case, Flint, Michigan somehow makes it weirder, because at least Gary isn't also dealing with poisoned water pipes that still aren't fully fixed. Most people know the Flint water crisis. What they don't know is that homes never stopped selling there, not during the crisis, not after. Median prices run $60,000 to $80,000, depending on the month, which is a number that makes your brain short-circuit a little. But Flint's population peaked at 196,000 in 1960 and now sits under 82,000. That's more than half the city, just gone, over decades of slow bleed. And the water crisis didn't start that exodus, it just stomped on the gas. So who's actually buying? Some are locals reshuffling within a shrinking pool, downsizing, escaping a bad landlord, moving to a cheaper block because that's the only move left available to them. Number 3, Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown peaked at 170,000 people in 1930 and now sits around 60,000. And that collapse didn't come from a hurricane or a war. The steel mills shut down, the jobs walked out, and the people followed. But pull up Zillow right now and you'll find active listings with prices that look almost too good to be real. And here's what makes Youngstown genuinely strange. Back in 2005, the city released a plan that formally admitted it would never be big again and tried to shrink its infrastructure to match. Most cities refused to say that out loud. Youngstown just put it in writing. And still the homes kept selling. At $50,000 to $70,000, investors from Cleveland and Pittsburgh scoop up rentals fast, running spreadsheets from 2 states away, while the vacancy rate sits at 20% or higher, and demolition crews can't keep up with the empty structures they're trying to erase. Number 4, Scranton, Pennsylvania. Yes, it's the city from The Office, and yes, people have been making that joke for 20 years. But the actual Scranton has been quietly losing residents the whole time everyone was busy quoting Michael Scott. The population peaked at 143,000 in 1930 and now sits around 76,000. And that didn't happen in a crash. The anthracite coal industry that built the city just slowly stopped, and the people who could leave did. What keeps the homes selling now is a pretty specific buyer. Remote workers and retirees priced out of New York and New Jersey who see a $150,000 house and basically short-circuit. That's less than a year's rent in Jersey City, so they move fast. Number 5, Syracuse, New York. Syracuse gets more snow than almost any other major city in the country, and I don't mean a little extra, I mean the kind of snow that buries your car up to the door handles while you're sleeping and keeps going. But that's not why people are leaving, it's just not helping. The population dropped from 220,000 in 1950 to under 150,000 today, and the homes are cheap, like $120,000 to $150,000 cheap, which should be pulling people in. But Syracuse University graduates pack up and head straight to New York City or Boston the second they get their diplomas, because that's where the jobs actually are. Students aren't buying houses. The people who stay tend to be older and already settled, so the homes that sell go to investors and out-of-state buyers running numbers on a spreadsheet from somewhere warmer. Number 6, Canton, Ohio. Canton, Ohio is home to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is genuinely cool, and you can buy a 3-bedroom house there for under $100,000, which sounds even cooler until you ask why the prices are that low. The population dropped from 116,000 to under 70,000 since the 1970s, a 40% slide over 50 years, because the steel and rubber jobs contracted and nothing replaced them at anywhere near the same scale. The job market now runs mostly on healthcare and retail, which don't pull ambitious young workers from other cities the way a factory boom once did. Number 7, Bakersfield, California. Bakersfield doesn't fit the Rust Belt mold at all. It's California, it's sunny, and homes there actually move fast, sometimes within days of listing. Sounds like the odd one out on this list, right? But nobody's choosing Bakersfield. They're getting priced out of Los Angeles and landing there by default, which is a completely different thing. Rents on the coast are so brutal that Bakersfield starts looking like a lifeline, not a destination. The oil industry drives the local job market, so when oil prices drop, the whole city feels it. And the air quality is genuinely terrible, consistently ranking among the worst in the country because the valley geography traps everything: smog, particulate matter, ozone, all of it just sitting there. Number 8, Stockton, California. In 2012, Stockton filed for bankruptcy, one of the largest American cities ever to do that. And logically, the housing market should have seized up completely. It didn't. Homes kept selling, prices kept moving, and on a spreadsheet, it genuinely looked like a comeback story. By the late 2000s, Bay Area workers priced out of everywhere closer to their jobs were buying in Stockton and grinding through 2+ hours of commuting every single day. Then remote work hit, and a lot of those commuters realized they didn't need to stay anymore, so they left for places they actually wanted to live. Number 9, Cape Coral, Florida. Cape Coral is technically one of the fastest growing cities in America by raw numbers, so why is it on this list? Because growth and stability are completely different things, and Cape Coral is basically running on fumes and investor money. Hurricane Ian hit in 2022 and hit hard, and even before that, the city ran on a boom-bust cycle that would give any rational person whiplash. After Ian, insurance premiums in Lee County doubled or tripled for a lot of homeowners, and that changes everything about whether buying there actually pencils out. The buyers showing up now are mostly investors grabbing distressed properties cheap, retirees who will spend 4 months there and keep their real home in Ohio, and out-of-state buyers who haven't opened a single insurance quote yet. Number 10, Midland, Michigan. Midland looks nothing like the other cities on this list. Dow Chemical put down roots there in 1897, and the city built its entire identity around that one fact. So the neighborhoods are tidy, the homes sell at reasonable Midwest prices, and nothing looks obviously broken. But Midland's population has been stuck around 41,000 to 42,000 for years, and it's getting older every single year because the younger residents leave for cities where your career options don't all route through one company's HR department. If Dow isn't your path, Midland doesn't have a backup plan for you. The homes that sell mostly go to Dow employees or contractors relocating for work, which means the entire buyer pool is one corporate restructuring away from evaporating. Then in 2020, the Edenville and Sanford dams failed, flooded parts of the city, and some of those residents never came back. And this pattern isn't going away. Insurance costs keep climbing in flood zones, one industry towns keep aging out, and remote work keeps reshuffling who lives where.